Hey everyone. Um, Wanted to just kind of drop in because I'm going to share something similar to what I shared before maybe a couple of weeks ago. Um, but let me just go ahead and read what I'm going to read out of John chapter 18. Then we'll jump right in because I think we're living in a time where truth and facts don't even matter anymore. Um, so let me just go ahead and read and we'll jump in. John chapter 18. John chapter 18. And I'm just going to read verse 37 and 38. Pilate said, "So you are a king?" Jesus responded, "You say I am a king. Actually, I was born and came into the world to testify to the truth. All who love the truth recognize that what I say is true." Verse 38. "What is truth?" Pilate asked. Then he went out again to the people and told them he's not guilty of any crime. And so, just really quickly, what's going on here? Jesus is actually basically, this is like his second or third trial. He's finally brought to the governor, Pilate. And, Pilate is asking them questions because when he went out to the people, and he asked, "What has this man done?" They were like, "If he wasn't a criminal, I would not have brought him to you." And so he goes back in to talk to Jesus, and begins to ask him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And he's like, "Are you asking me that because for yourself, or somebody else have said something about me?" And and Pilate think he has so much control, and of course, in a sense, he has some power and some control, but he doesn't really recognize what's going on behind the scenes. Um, and I think this is very interesting because his statement about testifying to the truth, and all of those who listen to him, or those who love the truth, they recognize that what he's saying is true. Um, and Pilate says something that's very interesting. He's like, "What is truth?" And it's kind of the times that we live in today, right? The interesting thing, I forgot who I heard say this, but the interesting thing is he just rushed out after he asked, "What is truth?" Like it was, you know, he didn't really want to answer. But how different would it have been if he would have stuck around to get a response from Jesus instead of rushing back out to the people? But I don't want to dwell on that. But we live in a time where truth is not important anymore. Facts, what's really going on, is not important. And it's been like that for some time. You look at us coming out of postmodernism, where many would say that there's no such thing as an absolute truth, and you can't know certain things, and all of the different things that were wrapped up into that type of worldview, or a way of looking out at the world and being in the world. Um, Now we're at a point to where, regardless if it's possible to know truth in a certain way, or if there is a real absolute truth that governs everything else, regardless of that, we live in a time now where people are just like, they would prefer one thing over the truth. It doesn't really matter, and it's sad. I remember the first time I heard somebody talk about that, it was spot on. I began to recognize it immediately, and this was some years back, and it's getting more and more like that every day now, right? It's preference, it's feelings, it's the way I want it to be over what's actually going on. And it's sad that we live in a time like that, because It's something that can be very dangerous. Um, Let me show you what I mean by that. You know how dangerous it is if a person, knowing that it's, something is wrong, but they just really don't care, they're choosing to do whatever they're about to do anyway, no matter how harmful it is to anybody else. No matter if it's going to hurt a few people or hurt a lot of people, people are choosing to do things a certain way, and it's scary. And it's been like this for probably around like a decade. It's not to say that there wasn't already some people that felt that way, but over the last decade or so, you saw things really begin to transition, right? Because even in a lot of universities, it's interesting. Universities were supposed to be the place where you go to acquire knowledge and all of these different things. But many of the professors and people in universities were the ones telling you that there's no absolute truth, and certain things you can't know. But I guess we're supposed to take their word for it. You're in a position, you're supposed to be in the know and supposed to be telling me the truth, but you're telling me there really is, for many years you heard things like this is my truth and your truth may be something else. And like, it's amazing how many people actually buy into that, and on a daily basis they speak in that language. Well, this is my truth, and then your truth may be something else. And it's like people just take on phrases and take on things without even considering the implications of those things. To say that truth is however you want it to be in that moment, and then it can change and be something else at another time. It really doesn't. Not only does that not make any sense, but it really sheds light on a lot of hearts in the world today, that it doesn't really matter what the truth is as long as everything goes the way that I want it to go, and you should not say anything about the way that I want it to be. Another thing that's interesting about what I just said is people that live in these fantasy worlds that don't want there to be a truth. um, they don't want you to point out if what they're saying is not reality, but they will attack you for standing for what you believe. So it's okay for them to stand for what they believe in, saying that there really is no truth, and if there is one, we can bend it the way we want to bend it, and nobody should judge me for it. That's the main word. Don't judge me, right? And but other people that believe that there is an absolute truth and that it governs other things, you get attacked for standing for what you believe. And that's very interesting that we attack other people and say don't judge me, right? And then we judge them for believing what they believe. It's just mind boggling to me, and it's very amazing. Just the whole statement in itself. Have you ever heard that? Like somebody say, "Man, come on, don't judge me, man." And it's like I think about when before I gave my life over to Christ, all the stuff that I used to do back when I was in the streets. Not one time did I tell people, "Man, don't judge me, don't judge me," because of the simple fact is this. What I was doing at the time, I really didn't care if you thought it was wrong. And that's the world we live in today. Everybody is super sensitive. We got hypersensitive people that want to do whatever they want, but then they don't want anybody to say anything negative about what they're doing. When I was doing what I was doing, I didn't care if you judged me about it or you thought it was wrong or not. I chose to do those things in that time period of my life, and I did them, and And that's just the way that it was. If I got in trouble for doing it, if I got away with it or whatever at during those times, that's just the way that it was. But not one time that I go around telling people, man, don't judge me, don't look down on me because I'm doing this. Because I really didn't care if you ever looked down on me for what I was doing. You know, my environment was different than some people's environment. So I don't care if you looked down on me when I was doing those things. But I'm not doing them no more. And when I came to the point to where I said I can't do those things anymore, and I started to say that those things are wrong, I stand by that right now. But we're too hypersensitive that we want everything to be our way, and we don't want any questioning going on about those things. But the truth of the matter is there is a such thing as truth. And we can't bend it the way we want to bend it just so that, we feel good about ourselves and we justify the things that we're doing. All who love the truth recognize that what I say is true. I mean, that's a powerful statement of Jesus. And this is at the end. This is when Jesus is about to be crucified. Now, if you were to go back in the Gospel of John or even the other gospel accounts and look at many of the things that Jesus said that ruffled a lot of feathers and made people upset. Sometimes it made people run away because it was too difficult for them to understand, or they felt it was too hard for them to be able to do. But just think about all of the things that Jesus said. And I challenge you to go back and look at what Jesus says. Are there some things that he say that you just like, man, I don't even know if that's true? Good thing is, it's okay to question at times whether some of the stuff he's saying is like, man, that's hard for me to accept that. But the thing is, it's different when you question and you're reflecting on it and you're really trying to figure out, can I accept this or not? And and you want to dig further and pray further and get down to the bottom and ask God to help you to accept it if it really is true. There's a difference between that and then just saying, oh, that can't be true. I can't believe that. You hear statements like that. No, I can't believe that. No, you can. You just choose not to. And I think we let people off the hook too much when people say stuff that just don't make no sense. Like, I can't believe that. Yeah, I choose not to believe it. I can't have that. What is truth? Truth was right there in front of him. And he walked out before he could get a answer. And let me leave you with this. Maybe he walked off quickly, right? Because during his conversation with Jesus, asking him about being a king, and he says, my kingdom is not of this world. If it was, my followers would prevent me from being, taken away. But just listen. Maybe he ran off because he didn't really want to know what the truth was. You see, once you know what it is, now you have a responsibility to accept it and change your life and order it around that new truth that you didn't know before, or you can reject it and go on about your life. And there's consequences either way, right? There's consequences for standing for the truth and living for the truth. And then you have so many people out in the world that don't want to hear that, don't want to see you living in a way that's contrary to everybody else. Because when you stand for the truth, you're going to stand out. And you need to understand that right now. But there's the other option to reject it and just go on and do what most people do, and that's live for themselves and come up with all kind of strange things that we see in the world today. Taking a little belief from this, take a little belief, and you hear people say, "Oh, well, I believe this," even though it don't make any sense at all, and there's no foundation for these beliefs that they claim they have. There is a truth. And maybe we just run off. I'm going to say this again. Maybe sometimes we say, well, what is truth? And maybe we run off before there's a response or before you can even get an answer because you don't want the answer. But this is what I'll say to that as I'm closing. Running from the answer does not take away your accountability. I'm going to say this again. Running from an answer and saying, "Oh, I never got the answer to that. I was busy. I had to get somewhere." That's not an excuse, and that does not take away your accountability. When there's opportunities for us to find out truth in things, and we choose not to go and get it, I don't know why people think that you can stand before God and try to run game like we do on people. But it's not going to be like that. You're not going to stand before God and try to come up with this scheme and think you can talk your way out of why you didn't do what was necessary in those moments. Just think about it. We're just thinking about this text. I mean, there's a lot in here that you could read, but it's just something that I was thinking about when you look at this, because people are trying their best to do away with truth. And if we're honest, here's some truth for you. The enemy is really governing a system out here in the world that doesn't like truth. It's opposed to God and God's ways. Think about it. Grace, mercy, and peace be with you.